Alright, Senate Manual Standard Rules of the Senate. Rule 16, Committee Procedure. Each standing committee, including the subcommittee, any of the such committee authorized to hold such hearing to sit and act at sometimes placed over the during session or each of the during periods of the Senate with the request of the subpoena with the otherwise with the tens of the sub witness production such corresponds with the book papers, documents to take such testimony to make such expenditure out of the contingent fund of the Senate that may be authorized by resolution of the Senate. Each such committee may take investigation into any matters of the jurisdiction, may report such hearings as may be had by it, and may employ stenographic assistance costs not exceeding the amount prescribed by the Committee of the Rules Administrative of the Executive. Expense of the committee shall be paid with the contingent fund of the Senate upon venture vouchers approved by the chairman. Each committee shall adopt rules not inconsistent with the rules of the Senate with the governing of the procedures of the committee of the rules. Each committee shall be published in the Congressional Record no later than March 1st, first year of each Congress, except if any of the such committee is established on or after February 1st of the rules each year of the year of rules of the committee during years of the establishment of it shall be published with the Congressional Record no later than 60 days after the establishment. Any of the amendments of the rules of the committee shall not take effect until the amendment published with the Congressional Record. Each standing committee, except for the committee on the operation, shall fix a regular weekly, bi-weekly, monthly meeting days of the transaction business before the committee additional meetings being recalled by the chairman as may be deemed necessary. If at least 3 members of any such committee desire that the special meeting of the committee be called by the chairman, those of the members may file with the office of the committee with their written request to the chairman for the special meeting, and immediately upon the filing of the request, the clerk of the committee shall notify the chairman over the filing of the request. If they are 3 calendar days after the filing of the request, the chairman does not call if requested special meeting to be held for the 7 calendar days after the filing of the request. The majority of the members of the committee may file with the office of the committee their written notice of special meeting of the committee will be held to specify the date and hour of the special meeting of the committee shall meet with the day of the hour, and immediately upon filing the notice of the clerk of the committee shall notify all the members of the committee that such a special meeting will be held and inform them that is the date and hour. If the chairman of any such committee is not present at any regular additional special meeting of the committee, the ranking member of the majority party on the committee who is present shall preside at that meeting. Each committee, except for the committee of the operation of the committee on the budget, shall make the public announcement of the date, of the place, of the subject matter of any of the hearing to be conducted by the committee on any of the measure of the matter at least once a week before the commencement of the hearing, unless the committee determines that there is a good cause of being such a hearing at an earlier date. Each committee, except for the committee of the operation, shall require that each of the witnesses appear before the committee in any of the hearing filed with the clerk of the committee at least one day before the day of the appearance of the witness. Written statement if it has been proved with testimony, unless the committee chairman and the ranking and minority member determine that there is a good cause for non-compliance. If the requested by any of the committee, the staff of the committee shall prepare you for the members of the committee before each of the day of the hearing before the committee of the digest of statements which have been filed so by the witness who appear before the committee on that day. After the conclusion of each of the day of the hearing, if so, the request of any of the committee and the staff prepare with each of the members of the committee on the summary of the testimony given before the committee on that day. After the approval of the chairman, the ranking minority member of the committee, each summary of it may be printed with as part of the committee of the hearing. If such hearings are ordered by the committee to be printed whenever the hearing is conducted by the committee, except for the committee of the operations, less than the measure of the matter of the minority of the committee shall be entitled upon the request made by the majority and minority members of the chairman before the completion of such hearing. The call of the witness selected by the minority of the testify with the respect of the measure mattering during at least one day of the hearing thereon, notwithstanding any of the provisions of the rule of the Senate in session. No committee of the Senate, any subcommittee thereon, may meet without special leave after conclusion of the first 2 hours after the meeting of the Senate commenced, and in no case after the 2 o'clock post meridian, unless consent there has been obtained with the majority leader, minority leader, or in the event of absence of either such leaders from his designee. Prohibition contained in the preceding sentence shall not apply for the committee of the operation of the committee on the budget. The majority of the leader and his designee shall announce to the Senate whenever the consent has been given under the subparagraph that shall the state with the time and the place for the such meeting with the right over the take place such announcement with the consent with shall have the same with the priority of the following the closure motion. Each meeting of the committee and any subcommittees there include the meeting of the conduct of the hearing shall be open to the public except for the meeting of the series of the meetings of the by the committee with the subcommittee there on the same subject for a period no more than 14 calendar days may be closed with the public motion made with the second to go in closed session to discuss only whether the matters enumerated in clause 1 through 6 would require the meeting to be closed followed by immediately by the record vote in open session majority of the members of the committee with the subcommittee when it is determined that the matters discussed or the testimonies to be taken in such meetings will discover the matters necessary to be kept for the secret of the interest of the national defense for the confidential conduct foreign relations with the United States with relate solely with the members of the committee staff with the personnel with the internal staff of the management with the chief of the bulletin with the charge of the individual with the crime and the misconduct with the disgrace with the injury with the personnel professional of standing with the individual otherwise to expose an individual public contempt oblique and will represent a clearly unwarranted invasion over the privacy of the individual will discover the identity of any informer of law enforcement agent will disclose any information relating to investigation prosecution of the criminal offense required to be kept secret in the interest of the effective law enforcement will discover the information relating to the trade of the secrets of the financial commercial information pertaining specifically to given in person if A, the act of the Congress require the information to be kept confidential for the government officer for the employees, B, the information has been obtained with the government confidential basis of the other than through the application by such over the purpose of the government financial for the other benefit is required to be kept secret in order to prevent the undue injury of the competitive position of such of the person or the may divulge of the matter that required to be kept for the confidential under the provisions of the law and the government regulations. Whenever any hearing conducted by any such of the committee and subcommittee is open to the public, that the hearing may be broadcasted by radio and television or both under the such of the rules the committee and subcommittee may adopt. Whenever the disorder arises during the committee meeting, this is open to the public and any of the demonstration of the approval or disapproval of the indulged by any of the person that attends any such meeting. It shall be the duty of the chair to enforce order of his own initiative without any point of the order being made by the senator. When the chair finds that it is necessary to maintain order, he shall have the power to clear the room, and the committee may act in closed session so long as there is doubt over the issuance of the order. Each committee shall prepare for the committee with a complete transcript of the electronic record adequate to the full with the record of the proceeding each of the meeting of the conference with the not as such of the meeting and any of the part there is closed under this paragraph unless the majority of the members vote to forego such a record, exempt that it will respect the meetings closed accordingly with the rule each of the committee and subcommittee shall make with the publicly available the internet of the video of the recording audio recording transcript of any of the meeting not later than 21 business days after the meeting occurs. Information required in subclause A shall be available until the end of the Congress following the day of the meeting. The committee on the rules of administration may waive the clause of the upon the request based on the inability to committee subcommittee to comply with the clause due to technical logistical reasons. Morning meetings of the committee subcommittees thereof should be scheduled with one or both periods described in the paragraph of the first period shall end at 11 o'clock at the anti-meridian. Second period shall begin at 11 o'clock anti-meridian and end at 2 o'clock post-meridian, except as provided in paragraph of each of the committee, each subcommittee thereof to authorize to fix the number of its members, but not less than 1/3 of the entire membership of the will shall constitute the quorum thereof of the transaction such business as may be considered by said committee, except that no measure of the matter of the recommendation shall be reported from any of the committee unless the majority of the committee were physically present. Each such committee subcommittee is authorized to fix a lesser number than 1/3 of its entire membership, who shall constitute the quorum thereof for the purpose of taking sworn testimony of the vote of any of the committee report a measure of the matter of the shall require of the concurrence of the majority of the members of the committee who are present. No vote on any of the matter of any of the committee to report a measure of the matter may be cast by a proxy if the rules adopted by such committee forbid the casting of the votes for the purpose of the proxy. However, the proxies may not be voted when absent committee member has not been informed and of the matter which he of the being is recorded has not affirmatively requested that he be so recorded to action by any committee in reporting any measure matter of the accordance with the requirements of the subparagraph shall constitute the ratification by the committee all of the action thereto for taken by the committee with respect to that measure or matter, including votes taken up of the measure and matter any amendment thereto with no point of the order shall lie with respect to that of the measure matter of the ground that such previous action with respect thereto such committee was not taken into compliance with such requirements. Each committee, except the committee on operation, shall keep the complete record of all the committee all actions and should record an included record of the votes and any of the questions on which the recorded vote is demanded. The result of the roll call votes taken in any of the meeting of the committee upon any of the measure and amendment thereto shall be an announcement of the committee report on the measure unless previously announced by the committee, and such of the announcement shall include a tabulation of the votes cast in the favor of the votes of the cast for the opposition, and each such of the measure of the amendment with maybe each member of the committee who is present at the meeting. Whenever any of the committee roll call vote reports any of the measure of the matter of the report of the committee upon such measure of the matter of the shall include the tabulation of the votes cast each member of the committee within favor of in opposition such measure of the matter nothing contained in the subparagraph shall abrogate with the power of any of the committee to adopt the rules providing with the proxy on all of the matters of the other reporting of the measure of the matter or providing in accordance with the subparagraph A with the lesser number of the quorum for any action other than the reporting of the measure of the matter. In order to assist with the Senate with the analysis of the appraisal, the evaluation, application for the ministry for the execution of the law enacted by Congress for its formulation, consideration, enactment, such modification, change within those laws with additional legislation may be necessary or appropriate. Each standing committee, except for the committee for the operation of the budget, shall review the study of the continuing basis for the application of the ministry for the execution of the law for the parts of the law, subject matter of which it was the legislative jurisdiction of the committee. For the stuff of the committees may carry out the required analysis for the operation of the evaluation themselves, or by contract, that may require for the government agency to do so. Furnish a report through the Senate, such of the committee may reply on such technique as pilot testing of analysis of the cost in comparison with the benefit and provision for evaluation after the defined period of time, and in order to, in each odd-numbered year, each of the such committee shall submit no later than March 31st of the Senate report of the activity of the committee under the paragraph during the Congress end of the noon at June 3rd to January 3rd of each of such year. Except that provided in subparagraph B, each of the committee shall report with the authorization resolution each of the year authorizing the committee to make expenditure of the contingency fund of the Senate to defray its expense, including compensation members of the staff and the agency to contribute contributions related to such compensation during the period beginning with the March 1st of the such year, ending on the last day of the February of the following year. Such of the annual authorization resolution shall be reported not later than January 31st each of the year, except that whenever designation members of the standing committees of the Senate that occur during the first session of the Congress at the date with later than January 27th, the resolution may be reported at any time 30 days after the date on which the designation of the such member is completed. After the annual authorization resolution of the committee for a year it has been agreed to, such a committee may procure authorization to make additional expenditures out of the contingent fund of the Senate during the year only with a reporting supplemental authorization resolution. Each supplemental authorization resolution approved by the committee amending annual authorization resolution such for the committee for that year shall be accompanied by the report system of the particular purpose for the which of this authorization shall be the reason why its authorization could not have been sought at the time of submission in such committee of the annual authorization resolution of that year. In lieu of procedure for the provide with the subparagraph of the committee of the rules of the administrator may direct each comment to report authorization resolution of the two-year budget for the period beginning of the March 1st of the first year session of the Congress. Report one authorization resolution containing more than one committee with the authorization for 1 year or 2 year budget period. All committee hearings, records of the data charts in the file of the shall be kept in the distinct from the Congressional Office of the records of the members servicing of the chairman of the committee. Such of the records shall be property of the Senate. All the members of the committee and of the Senate shall have the access to such of the records. Each committee is authorized to have printed and bound such testimony and other data presented at hearings held by the committee. It shall be duly the chairman of each of the committee to report and call to be reported promptly with a summary that any measure approved that his committee would take for the cause of the take and necessary to stop the bringing the matter to the vote in an event. The report of any of the committee on a measure of which has been approved by the committee shall be filed within 7 calendar days, exclusive of the day of which the Senate is not in session, after the day of which there has been filed with the clerk of the committee of the writing of the signed request of the majority of the committee of the reporting of that measure. Upon the filing of any such of the request, the clerk of the committee shall transmit immediately with the chairman of the committee noticing of the file of that request is a paragraph that does not apply with the committee of the operations. If at the time of the approval of the measure on the matter by any committee except the committee of the operations, any member of the committee gave the notice to the intention of file supplemental minority additional view that the membership of the entitled not less than 3 calendar days in which to file such view in writing with the clerk of the committee, and such view of the file with one more member of the committee shall be included within shall be part of the report filed with the committee with the respect that the measures of the matter of the report of the committee upon the measure matter shall be printed in single volume of which and shall include that all supplemental minority additional views of the which have been submitted by the time of the filing of the report so bear upon its covered with the recital of the supplemental minority additional views are included with the part of the report. Some paragraph that does not preclude immediate filing, printing of the committee report, and live with the timely request for the operation of the final supplemental minority additional views have been provided by some paragraphs or the following by any such committee, any supplemental report with any of the measurements over which may be the request of the correction of any technical error of the previous report may be with the committee upon the measure of the matter of the report with the accompanying with each of the bill with a joint resolution, public character of the reported by any committee, except for the committee on operations committee when the budget shall contain an estimate of the made by the trust of the committee with the cost of the which will incur with the carrying out such of the bill resolution, joint resolution of the official year in which of the reported each of the 5 official years following with such official year with the authorized for the duration of the program authorized by such of the bill joined with the resolution less than 5 years except for in the case of the measure affecting the revenue such for the report shall require only estimate of the gain and the lost revenues of the 1 year period in comparison with the estimate of the cost described in the subparagraph 1 of the made such for the committee with any estimate of the cost made by a federal agency or in lieu of such estimate of the comparison of both the statement of the region by compliance by the committee, which of the requirements of paragraph 1 or 2 of it is impractical, each such of the report, except for the committee on the operation, shall also contain the evaluation made such for the committee of the regulatory impact that would incur with the carrying of the bill of the joint resolution. The evaluation shall include A, an estimate of the number of individuals' business who have to go to be regulated with the determination groups over the classes of the individual business. B, a determination of the economic impact of such of the regulation individuals consume of the business effect with the determination impact of the personal privacy of the individuals affected. D, the determination of the amount of additional paperwork that would result of the regulation promulgated pursuant to the bill joint resolution, which the determination may include but not needed, not limited to the estimate of the amount of time financial costs required effective of the party showing the effects of the bill joint resolution could be substantial as well as the reasonable estimates of the record keeps the requirements of that may be associated with the bill and joint resolution or in lieu of such evaluation statement of the region of the black complaint with the committee with the requirements in clause 1 is impractical if shall not be in order for the Senate to be considered with any such bill with the joint resolution if the report by the committee on such a bill over the joint resolution does not comply with the provisions of subparagraph A and B with the objection of any of the senators. 12. Whenever the committee reports a bill with a joint resolution repealing with amending any statute of the part thereof, they shall make of the report thereon shall include such of the report with any accompanying document to be prepared by the staff of the such committee of the text of the statute of the part of the was proposed to repeal of the B of the comparative print with the part of the bill with the joint resolution made with amendment of the statute of the part of thereof the proposed to be amended should be stricken through with the type of the in italics parallels columns with the other appropriate type of the graphical of the device of the mission insertion which would be made a bill with the joint resolution if it is enacted with the recommended by the committee with the paragraph shall not apply with any such report within which it is stated that in the opinion of the committee it is necessary to dispense with the requirements of their subsection to expedite the business of the Senate, each committee with the except of the committee on the operations, which legislative jurisdiction shall with the end of the consideration of all the bills and joint resolution over the public character of the where the jurisdiction endeavored to ensure all continuing programs of the federal government and of the government of District of Columbia with the jurisdiction of such committee with the joint with the committee are designed, all continuing activities of the federal agency with the jurisdiction of such committee with the joint committee are carried out so that the extent with consistent with the nature of the requirements of the objectives of the program's activity operations thereof, or if it may be annually each committee, except for the committee operations, shall refer for the continuing program with the jurisdiction operations if they're not made for the annual. They review such program from time to time in order to ascertain whether such program can be modified so the operations there would be made annually. Alright, Rule 27. The committee staff, the staff members appointed with the assist of the minority member of the staff pursuant to the authority of resolution described in the paragraph 9, Rule 25 of the other senator resolution should accordance equitable treatment with respect to fixing salary rates, assignments of the facility, accessibility of the committee record. The minority shall receive the favor of the consideration appointment of the staff personnel pursuant to the authority over the resolution described in paragraph 9, Rule 26. Staff of the committees, including personnel appointed pursuant to the authority resolution described in paragraph 9, Rule 26 of the other Senate resolution should reflect the relative of the number of the majority and minority members of the committee majority of the minority members of any committee and by resolution request to have at least one-third of all the funds of the committee for the personnel of the other those funds determined by the chairman and ranking minority member to be allocated with administrative and clerical function of the committee as a whole for compensation of minority staff of the minority member of the committee staff of the committee shall therefore after adjust the budget to comply with such resolution. Such adjustment shall be equatable made over the 4-year period commencing with July 1st, 1977, which was not less than one half of the beginning made with the 2 years upon the request of the majority of the minority members of any committee, and by resolution proportionally space equipment and facilities shall be provided for such of the minority staff. No committee shall be appointed to its staff as an expert of the other personal delegated detail assigned for any of the department or agency of the government except with the written permission of the committee on the rules of administration. Rule 28. Conference committee for the reports open meeting with the presentation of the report of the committee for the conference of the shall always be in order available on each senator's desk except for the journal of the being read with the question of the order of the motion of the journal that is pending or the while the senator is voting assertion of the presence of the quorum of the when receive of the question of the proceeding of the to consider of the duration of the report is raised shall be immediately put for the shall be determined without debate. When a message from the House of the Representatives is laid before the chairman, it shall be in order with the single but non-divisible of the motion to be made with it include with the motion to disagree with the House amendment or insist upon the Senate amendment of the motion to request the committee with the conference of the House of the agree with the request by the House of the committee with or with the conference of motion with the authorized presiding officer to appoint with the conference of the motion to appoint with the conferees. If the cloture motion is presented with a motion made with the pursuant of the subparagraph A of the motion shall be debated no more than 2 hours, but equally divided in the usual form after the presiding officer or the clerk after the direction of the presiding officer shall lay the motion before the Senate. If the cloture is invoked on the motion, when the question shall be on the motion without further debate, with the converse shall not insert with the report matter of the not committed to them by either the House, nor shall they strike with the bill with the matter of the agreed by to for the House. If the matter for the which of the agreed by the House is and stricken by the bill, the point of the order may be made against the report. If the point of order is sustained with the report is rejected, shall be recommended to the committees of the conference of the House of the Representatives has not already acted thereon. If the new matter of the insert of the report, a point of the order may be made against the conference report, and it shall be disposed of provided on paragraph 5. Any case in which of the disagreement of the amendment to the nature of the substitute that has been referred to the conferees, it shall be in order to the conferees to report the substitute of the subject and same subject matter, and the conferee that may not include the report of the matter but not commended to them by either House. The conferers may include their report in any of the case of such case with which of the germane modification subject of the disagreement. In any case for the other conferers that violate subparagraphs A with a point of order was made against the conferers conference report and shall be disposed of provided on paragraph 5. 5A. Senator may raise with a point of order with one of the more provisions conference report paragraph 3 and 4. Paragraph 3 and 4, as for the case of the presiding officer may sustain with the point of the order at some of all of the provisions again for the same of the raise of the point. Order the presiding officer sustain with the point of order of the any of the provision again to the same of the raise of the point of order those provisions against which of the presiding officer sustain with the point of order shall be stricken. After all the other points of the order under this paragraph have them in the disposal of the Senate that shall proceed with the reconsider the question whether the Senate should receive from the amendment of the House of Ill disagreement with the amendment of the House concurring with the further amendment shall consider the only portion of the conference report that has not been stricken. Question and clause that shall be decided on by the same with the debatable limitation of the conference report and no further amendment shall be in order. 6. Any senator may move with the waive and any all of the opposition with the points of the order under paragraph 3 and 4 with the respect for the pending of the conference report with the affirmative vote of 3/5 of the member duly chosen and sworn. All motions are waived under this paragraph shall be debatable collectively for not exceed 1 hour equally divided between the majority and minority leader of their deaths. Alright, a motion to waive all the points of the order under this paragraph shall not be amendable with all the appeal of the ruling of the chair of the under the paragraph 5 with the debatable collective for not exceed with 1 hour equally divided between the majority minority leader with the affirmative vote of 3/5 of the members of the Senate duly chosen with the sworn shall be requested in the Senate to sustain an appeal for the ruling of the chairing under the paragraph 5. Each report made with the committee with the conference of the Senate with the shall be printed with the report with the sermon as so with the printed with the stuff of the report accompanied by the explanatory statement of the proposed or jointly by the conferees on the part of the House, the conferees on the part of the Senate. Such statements shall be sufficiently detailed with the explicit and form of the sermon with the effect of which amendments and propositions contained in such a report will have upon the measure to which of these amendments and the proposition relate. If it's by the time of the debate with the consideration any of the report of the committee with the conference upon the floor of the Senate is limited time allotted for the debate shall be equally divided between the majority and minority party. Each conference committee between the Senate and the House of Representatives shall open with the public with the except of the managers of either Senate or the House represented open session determined by the roll call vote of the majority of those of the managers present, and that all of the part of the remainder of the meeting on the day of the vote shall be closed to the public. A1. It shall not be in order to vote with the adoption of the report of the committee with the conference unless such of the report has been available to members of the general public for at least 48 hours before such vote. And a point of order that sustained under the paragraph of the conference report shall be set aside. For purpose of the paragraph of the report of the committee with the conference is made available to the general public as to the time and the post of the publicly accessible website with the control of the member of the committee with the Library of Congress, other than the Office of the Congress, Governmental Printing Office of the Report, and Presiding Officer for the Secretary of Senate. By the third paragraph must be waived with the Senate with respect to the pending of the conference of the report with affirmative votes of 3/5 of the member of the duly chosen sworn with the motion waived. The paragraph shall be debatable with not exceeding 1 hour equally divided between the majority leader and minority leader over their designees. Affirmative vote with the 3/5 of the members of the duly chosen and sworn that shall be required to sustain a appeal for the ruling on the chair of the point of the order raised on the paragraph of the appeal for the ruling of the chair shall be debatable not exceeding 1 hour equally divided between the majority and minority leader for the designees. This paragraph may be waived in joint agreement of the majority leader and minority leader of the Senate upon the certification such of the waiver necessary for the result significant disruption in Senate facilities or to availability of the Internet. Rules 29, Executive Sessions. When the President of the United States shall meet with the Senate chamber for the consideration of executive business, shall have the seat on the right of the presiding officer of the Senate, shall have the conveyed with the President of the United States, and any of the other place for the presiding officer of the Senate, with the senators shall attend places appointed with the necessary official officer of the Senate, when this acting upon confidential executive business, unless the same shall be considered upon in open executive session with the Senate chamber to have, shall be declared all the persons except for the Secretary, Assistant Secretary, Principal Legislative Clerks of Parliament, with the Executive Clerk, with the Minute and Journal Clerk, Sergeant Arms, Secretary of the Majority and Minority, and any such other officers, presiding officers, shall think of the necessary. All such officers shall be sworn to secrecy. All confidential communications made by the President of the United States with the Senate shall be by the Senate, with the officer of the Senate, with the kept secret. But all three of these much may be delayed before the Senate. All of the remarks, votes, proceeding thereon shall also be kept with the secret until the Senate shall, by their resolution, take off the injunction of the secrecy. Whenever the injunction of the secrecy shall be removed from any part of the proceeding of the Senate is closed with executive legislation, or the executive is closed, the executive or legislative session in order for the Senate to remove the same and shall be entered the legislative journal as well as the executive journal shall be published in the congressional record under the direction of the Secretary of the Senate. Any senator or officer of the employment of the Senate who would discover the secret of the confidential business of the proceeding of the Senate, include the business of the proceeding of the committee of the subcommittee, the officer of the Senate shall be liable for the senator, except for the expulsion of the body if an officer of the employee with the dismissal of the service of the Senate with the punishment of the contempt of whenever the request of the Senate, any of the communicate thereof, any of the documents of the paper shall be communicated with the Senate by the President of the head of any of the department relating to any matter pending with the Senate with the proceeding with regard with any of the secret of the confidential under the rules of the Senate of the documents and papers shall be considered as confidential, should not be disclosed without leave of the Senate. Rule 30, Executive Session proceeding on treaties. When the treaty shall be delayed before the Senate with the ratification shall be read for the first time, and no motion in respect shall be in order to accept the refer it to the committee to print with the confidence for the use of the senator to the removal of the injunction of the secrecy when the treaty is reported to the committee with or without amendment it shall unless the Senate unanimously otherwise directly lie over the 1 day with consideration, after which it may be read for the second time, after which the amendments may be proposed at any stage such of the proceeding of the Senate may remove the injunction of secrecy from the treaty. The decisions thus shall be made reduced from the form of the resolution ratification with or without amendment as the case may be, which shall be proposed in subsequent days unless the unanimous consent of the Senate determined otherwise with shaved no amendment to the treaty shall be received unless the unanimous consent but the resolution ratification when pending shall be open to the amendment for reservation, declaration, statements of an understanding on the final question of the revive the consent to the ratification form agreed to with the concurrence of the 2/3 of the Senate President shall be necessary to determine if the affirmative but all the other motions questioned the efficacy of the treaty shall be decided with the majority vote except the motion of the postponement identified with which shall be decided with the vote of the 2/3. treaties transmitted by the President to the Senate with the ratification shall be resumed to the second and any subsequent subsession of the same Congress at the stage at which they were left in the final adjournment at the session which were transmitted, but all the proceeding of the treaties shall terminate with the Congress. They shall be resumed with the commencement of the next Congress, evident no proceedings have previously been had thereon. Rule 31, executive session proceeding of the nomination. Of the nomination shall be made by the President of the United States of the Senate. They shall also, unless otherwise order, be referred to the appropriate committee with the final question on every nomination shall be will. The Senate provide with the consent of to the nomination, where the question shall not be put on the same day with which it will be reported with the committee, unless with the unanimous consent. All business in the Senate shall be transacted and opened with a session unless the Senate is provided in Rule 21 by with a majority vote with a shall determine the particular nomination of the tree of the other matter shall be considered to conclude executive session in which all the subsequent proceedings with respect to the said of the nomination tree of the other matter shall be kept secret with the provided with the injunction of secrecy with the whole with any of the part proceeding with the closed executive session may be removed with a motion adopted the majority of the vote of the Senate with the close of the executive session provided with a further that any of the Senate may take of the public his vote in the closed executive session. When a nomination is conferred with a rejected, any of the Senate voting with a majority may move the reconsideration the same day which of the vote was taken on either over the next 2 days. Actual executive session of the Senate with the notification of the confirmation of the rejection of the nomination shall have been said with the presidential before expiration of the time in which the motion with the reconsider may be made with the motion reconsider shall be accompanied by the motion to respect with the President with the return such notification to the Senate. A motion with the reconsider the vote of the nomination may be delayed with the table without prejudice to the nomination shall be filed with the disposition of such motion. Nominations converted with the rejected of the Senate shall be not returned by the Secretary of the President until the expiration of the time limited to make of the motion to reconsider the same with the motion to reconsider is pending unless otherwise ordered by the Senate. When the Senate is adjourned with a particular recess of the 130 days with all the motion reconsider the vote with the nomination with which have the conferred with the rejected by the Senate, which shall be pending with the time to take with the adjournment with the recess shall fall with the Secretary with the return of the stuff of the nomination to the President as confirmed the rejected the Senate as the case may be with the nominations near confirmed nor rejected during the session with which of the made shall be not active upon the succeeding session with which being again made to the Senate by the President of the Senate shall adjourn take recess for more than 30 days with all the nomination pending with not finally acted upon with the time to take with the adjournment the recess shall be returned by the Secretary with the President shall not again be considered unless they shall again be made to the Senate by the President. Official reporters shall be furnished with a list of the nomination of the office after the proceeding over the day with which they are received a list like confirmation, rejection. All nomination officers shall be prepared with the printer of the officer with a reported printed with the congressional record after the proceeding of the day with they are perceived that all the nominations were called. Confirmed the Secretary shall furnish for the President to do with the public upon request the names of the nominees confirmed and rejected on the day with the winner to the final vote shall be had, except the otherwise ordered by the Senate. Rule 32, President furnished with a copy of the record of the executive session. President of the United States shall from time to time be furnished with the unauthenticated with an authenticated transcript of the public executive record of the Senate with no further extract with the executive journal shall be furnished by the Secretary except for the special order of the Senate. No paper except for the original treaty of the transmitted with the Senate by the President of the United States with finally acted upon the Senate shall be delivered from the office of the Secretary without an order of the Senate for the purpose. Rule 33, Senate Chamber of the Senate Wing of the Capitol. The Senate Chamber shall not be granted for any of the other purposes for the use of the Senate. No smoke shall be permitted aim of the time of the floor of the Senate. Lighted cigars, cigarettes, or pipes may be brought into the chamber. It shall be the duty of the Committee of the Rule of the Administrator to make all of the rules, regulations respecting the set of the powers of the Capitol, passage of the galleries, including the restaurant of the Senate office buildings area, may be set apart for the use of the Senate and the officer of the enforced under the direction of the presiding over the committee shall make with the set of the regulation respect with the report of the galleries of the Senate together with the adjoining rooms and facilities also always confined with their occupancy with the bona fide reports of the newspaper, the periodical, the news of the press association for the daily news dissemination through the radio and television wires and cables with a similar media with the transmission of these regulations shall also provide you with such a space for the facility with the fairly distributed their use of such media for the news of the dissemination. Rule 34, Public Financial Disclosure. For purpose of this rule, provision Title I of the Ethics of the Government Act of 1978 should be deemed to be a rule of the Senate pertaining to the member of the office of the employee of the Senate selected with the Committee of Ethics shall transmit with a copy of each of the report filed under the Title I Ethics of the Government Act of 1978, or than the report filed with a member of the Congress to head of the employing office of the individual filing with the report. Purpose of this rule is head of the employing office shall, but in this case, the employee with a member by what a person is employed. In this case, the employee with the Committee give the chairman the rank of the minority member of such of the committee, in this case the employee with the leadership of the member of the leadership on whose staff such a person served, and in this case any other employee with the legislation branch the head of the office and such of the indicated individual serves. In addition, with the requirement paragraph 1 of the members of the office of the employee with the Senate shall include each of the report filed within paragraph 143 with the following additional information. For the purpose of section 102, A1B, object for the government 1978, additional categories income as filed with greater than $100 million, but no more than $5 million, greater than $5 million. For the purpose of section 102 D1, the F of the Government Act for the 1970 additional categories valued with greater than $1 million, but no more than $5 million, greater than $5 million, no more than $25 million. Greater than $25 million, but no more than $50 million, greater than $50 million. For the purpose of the paragraph, section 102 of the ethics of the Government Act of 1978, with additional category of the amount of the value is greater than $1 million, set forth in section 102 with the A1B and 102 D1 shall apply for the income asset with the liability of the spouse of the dependent with the child, but only of the income asset with the liabilities are held jointly with the reporting individual. Other income of the asset with the liability of the spouse of the dependent children required to be reported under section 102 of the paragraph with an amount with a value greater than $1 million shall be categorized only at an amount value greater than $1 million. In addition, the requirements of paragraph 1 of the members' office of the employee with the Senate shall include with each of the report filed within paragraph 146. Additional statement under section 102 of the Ethics of the Government Act of 1978 listing category for the total cash value of the interest of the reporting individual qualified blind trust that provided in section 102 of the E1 that for the Government Act of 1978 when the less of the trust instrument with it executed prior to July 21st, 1995 preclude with the benefit sure from receiving the information with the total cash value with any interest of the qualified blind trust. Rules 35 gifts. No member, officer, or employee with the Senate shall not only accept the gift expected as provided in this rule, but the member of the office of the employee may accept the gift other than cash in cash equivalent or other than cash or cash equivalent, which member of the office of the employee with a reasonably in good faith to be believed to have the value less than $50 cumulative of the value when sourcing during the calendar year less than 100. No gift of the value with below $10 shall count towards $100 annual limit. No formal record required with the paragraph. The member of the officer of the employee shall make with a good faith in an effort to comply with this paragraph. Member, officer, or employee may not knowingly accept the gift of the registered lobbyist for the agent with a foreign principal, the private entity that retained for the employee with the registered lobbyist, an agent with a foreign principal, and expect provide with the subparagraph C and D with the for purpose of the rule of the term of gift with the meaning with the gratitude with the favor, the discount with the interim with the hospitality loan forbearance of their in item ahead with the monetary value with the term include with the gift service, with the training, with the transportation, with the lodging, and meals, whether they're provided in kind by the purpose of the ticket, the payment in advance, the reimbursement, whether after the expense has been incurred. A gift to a family member of the member, officer of the employee, with a gift to any individual based on the individual's relationship to the member, officer of the employee, shall be considered the gift to the member, officer of the employee, that is given the knowledge of the the acquaintance of the member of the officer of the employee, with the member of the officer of the employee has reasonably believed the gift was given to become the official position of the member of the officer of the employee. If food or refreshment are provided at the same time at the place, both of the member of the officer of the employee with the spouse of the dependent thereon, with only food and refreshment provided with the member of the officer of the employment shall be retrieved of the gift for the purpose of the rule. Restrictions of paragraph A shall not apply to the following. Anything of the which of the member officer of the employee with the pay for the market value, but it does not give the promptly return with the donor. Market value with the ticket to do an entertainment with a sporting event with shall be the face value with the ticket. In this case, the ticket without a face for the value of the ticket with the highest face for the value of the event, except for the ticket holder with the can establish advance for the event and for the select with the committee on the ETS for the ticket issue with the equivalent another ticket in which face value then. The market value shall be set with a face value with equivalent market ticket establishing equivalency. The ticket holder should provide with a written and independently verifiable information related to the primary feature of the ticket, including the minimum seat location, access for the parking, availability, food for the refreshment, the access for the venue areas not open to the public. Select committee on after the make of the determination equivalency only in such the information provided the advance on the event. Fair market value for the flight when on an aircraft described an item shall be prorated share of the fare of the market value of the normally used character of the flight fare rental charge of the comparable plane of the comparable side determined by the dividing such cost of the number of the members office of the employee of the Congress on the flight. A flight on the aircraft is described in this item, and any flight over the aircraft that is not operated paid over any of the aircraft with a commercial operative with certified with the Federal Aviation Administration required to be conducted under the air carrier safety rules. This gave the travel was of the air carrier with the commercial operator certified with the purpose of foreign civil aviation authority flight is required to be conducted under the air carrier safety rules. Alright, subclass shall not apply with the aircraft they own and lease with the government entity by with a member of the cost of the member's immediately family member to include with the aircraft owned by the entity that is not a public corporation, which is the member of the member immediately family member has an ownership interest, provided that the member does not use the aircraft anymore with the member's immediately family member's proportional share of the ownership that allows. Contribution defined in Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971, Title 10, U.S. Standard Code 431 and 10, sequence lawfully made under the Act intended for the fundraising event, sponsor of the political organization. Described in Section 527 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1987, the gift of the relative of the described in Section 10916 of the Title 1 Ethics Reform Act of 1989. Anything including personal hospitality provided to the individual on the basis of personal friendship with the left of the member to officer of the employee that has a reason to believe that under the circumstances of the gift was for because of the official position of the member, officer, or employee, not because of the other personal friendship that determine whether the gift is provided on the basis of the personal friendship of the member and officer of the employee with the consider the circumstances under the gift was offered with such of the history of the relationship between the individual giver and the recipient of the gift, including the previous exchange of the gifts between such individuals, of the actual knowledge of the member, often of the employee, with the individual who gave the gift personally paid for the gift, is shall with the tax deduction plus business reimbursement for the gift, whether the actual knowledge of the member, often of the employee, with the individual who gave the gift, also at the same time gave the same and a similar gift to the other members of the office of the employees. Contribution over the payment of legal expense fund to establish benefit of the member, the officer of the employee, with the otherwise lawfully made subject to the disclosure requirements of the select of the committee of ethics accepted provided in paragraph 3C, and a gift to any other member, officer of the employees of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, food, refreshment, lodging, other benefits as a result of the outside business or employment activity, other outside activities. They are not connected with the duties of the member, officer of the employee, with the officer holder, the member, officer of the employee, with the spouse of the member, officer, employee, with the benefits have not been offered in enhanced because of the official position of the member, officer, employer customarily provided to others with a similar circumstance, the customary provided with prospective employee with a connection with a bona fide employment, a discussion of the provided with the political organization of the described in Section 527 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 with a connection with the fundraising of the campaign event sponsored by such an organization, pension, other benefits as a result of the continued participant in employee welfare and benefits of the bus maintained with the former employer, information material that are sent to the office of the member, officer of the employee in the form of the books and articles, periodicals, other written materials, audio tapes, videotapes, or other forms of communication. Awards or prizes that are given in the competition with the content of the events for the open to the public include random drawings, honorary degrees associated with the travel, food, with the reinforced restaurant, entertainment, other bona fide with non-monetary awards presented with the recognition of the public service of the associated food, refreshment, and entertainment provided with the presentation, such as the degrees and the awards, donation products of the state of the members of the representative intended primarily for the promotional purposes, such as display and free distribution or minimal value of the individual recipient of the training of the include the food, refreshment, furnish all attendees with the integral part of the training provided with the member, the office of the employee, in such a training with the interest of the settlement, bequest, inheritance of the transfers of at death. 15. Any type of receipt with which for the authorized of the Foreign Gift of the Declarations Act, for the Mutual Education and Cultural Exchange Act, any other statute, anything which is paid by the federal government, by the state, with the local government, secured by the government under the government contract, gift of personal hospitality, defined in Section 109.14 of the Acts of the government over the individual other than registered lobbyists for the agent of the foreign principal, free of the attendance of the attended event with a permitted pursuant to the subparagraph B. Opportunities, benefits which are available to the public, the class of the consisting with all the federal employees, whether they're not restricted on the basis of the geographical consideration, offers members for the group of the class for the membership of the unrelated congressional employment, offered a member of the organization, such an employee with the association congressional, with a credit union in which membership of the related with the congressional employment, a similar opportunity to be approved with large segments for the public of the organization similar size, offered to any of the group of the class that is not defined with a manner that specifically discriminated among the government employee with the basis of the branch government with the type of the responsibility on the basis of the favor, the higher the rank of the rate of pay, in form of the loans of the bank of the financial institution terms generally available to the public, in the form of the reduced membership of the other fees of the participation organization activities offered to all the government employees by professional organization. The only restriction of the membership is related with the professional qualification, plaque, Dave, trophy, of the item of a substantial quality, commemorative, the nature of which is intended for the soul of the presentation. And how many more are these? 21. Anything in which for the unusual case of the waiver granted with the select community on the ethics fee of the restaurant, the nominal value of the offered to the other than part of the meal with any item little intrinsic value, except for the grading of the car with the baseball cap of the t-shirt, the subject of the restrictions subparagraph, a free attendance for the constituted event with a permitted with pursuant of the subparagraph G. A member offered to an employee may accept an offer of free attendance of the widely attended convention of the conference synopsis, symposium, forum, panel, discussion, dinner, review, reception, similar event provided by a sponsor of the event, a member of the officer of the employee with the participant of the event, and the speaker of the panel with the participant with the resident information related with the Congress, the meeting matters before the Congress by performing the ceremonial functions appropriate to the members, officer of the employee with the official position. Since of the event, with the appropriate to the performance of the official of the duty to represent the function of the member, officer of the employee, with the member, officer of the employee who attends the event, described and called with the may accept for the sponsor's unsolicited offer of the free attendance of the event with an accompanied with the individual of the officer. Others with attendance will generally be similarly accompanied with the if such for the attendance is appropriate to assist for the representation of the Senate member, officer of the employee with the spouse of the dependent. Therefore, may accept the spouse of the sponsor unsolicited offer free of the attendance of the charity event, except for the reimbursement of the transportation lodging may not be accepted in connection with the event if it does not meet with the standard provision of the paragraph 2. For the purpose of the paragraph, the reattendant may include the waiver of all the parts and comforts of the fee with the provision of local transportation, with the provision of the food, refreshment, entertainment, and instructional material furnished. All the attendants have an integral part of the event. The term does not include the entertainment collateral to the event. The door does include the food. A refreshment the taken of the group of setting with all the substantial of the other attendances. During the day of the National Party Convention, with the public party to which the member belongs, the member of the may not participate in the event with the honor of the member other than his or her capacity for the party, either the presidential, vice presidential nominee, presumptive nominee, if it is such an event directly paid by the registered lobbyist for the private entity with a retained with the employee with the registered lobbyist. No member, officer, or employee may accept the gift of the value of the which exceeds $2,500 base for the personal friendship of the exemption from the subparagraph C4 unless the select committee of the ethics for the written determination such exemption applies. No determination of the subparagraph is required for the gift given on the basis of the family relationship with exemption. When it is not practicable to determine the tangible item, recover the perishable of the item made at the discretion of the recipient and give it to an appropriate charity to be destroyed. A member, officer of the employee may accept it with the only offer of the free attendance of the member's home state with the conference announcement of the forum and the panel to discover the dinner event site visit with the viewing reception similar event provided by a sponsor of the event. At the cost of the meals provided by the member, officer of the employee is less than $50. The event was sponsored for the consistent of the group of the consistent primary constitute with the member with whom the officer or employee is employed. The event will be attended primarily with a group of at least 5 consistent constitute with the member by whom the officer or employee is employed, provided with the registered lobbyist shall not attend with the event. Member, officer of the employee with the participate of the event with the speaker of the panel, participant present with the information related to the Congress materials with the floor of the Congress or by performing ceremonial functions appropriate to the members, officers, and employees' official position. 2. Attendance of the event with appropriate duty that performs official for the duties of the representative function, member of the office of the employer, member or officer of the employer with the attendance of the event with the described in clause 1, make an appropriate sponsor and solicit free attendance of the event with accompanying with the individual others attendance generally by similarly accompanied with himself with attendance with appropriate duty with the assist of the representation of the Senate. For purposes of the subparagraph to determine the free attendance to have the same meaning given such for the term in subparagraph D, reimbursement including payment in kind to a member or officer of the employee from an individual other than registered lobbies for the agent, foreign principal, the private entity with the retained with the employee of one or more registered lobbies of the agents, the foreign principal for the necessary transportation, lodging, related expense for the travel, the meeting with a speaking engagement, fact-finding trip, for a similar event in the connection with the duty of the member of the office of the employee with the officer holder shall be deemed with the reimbursement of the sum of the not give prohibited with the rules of the member officer with the employee with the complied with the requirements of this paragraph. Nothing withstanding with the reimbursement, including the payment in kind with the members or officer of the employee with the sum of the individual other than registered lobbies for the agent of the foreign principal that is private entity pertains to employees or one or more registered lobbies for the agent of the foreign principal shall be deemed with the reimbursement of the Senate under clause 1. The reimbursement is necessary for the transportation, lodging, related expense for the travel, the meeting with the speaking engagement, fact-finding trip with a similar event with the described in the clause in connection with the duty of the members officer of the employee with the reimbursement is provided only for the attendance of the participation for 1 day exclusive for the travel, the time, and the overnight stay of the event with the described in this clause. The reimbursement with the necessary for the transportation, lodging, related expenses for the travel to meeting, speaking engagement, fact-finding trip with a similar event with the described in clause 1 with the connection with the duty of the members or officer of the employee with the reimbursement is an organization desired designated under section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code in 1986. Continuing, when deciding whether to pre-approve of the trip, and the call of the select of the Committee of Ethics, which made the determination consistent with the regulation issued pursuant to Section 544 to the Honest Leadership of the Open Government Act of 2007. The Committee with review of the regulation implementation subclause of the A1 may permit a longer stay when determined the committee to be practical and required to participate in the event, but not an event may they stay exceed 2 nights for the purpose of clause 1 and 2 of the events for the activities which are substantial recreational in nature should not be considered in connection with the duties of the member, officer of the employee, of the officer, holder of the before, and the employee that may accept the reimbursement purchase of paragraph A of the employee shall receive the advance written authorization from the member or the officer of the under the direct supervision employee of works. Each of the advance authorization acceptable reimbursement shall be signed by the member of the officer for the under the direct supervision of the employee works or shall include the name of the employee with the name of the person who will make for the reimbursement at the time of the place for the purpose of the travel, the determination of the travel, the connection with the duty of the employee with the officer holder do not create with the appearance that the employee is using a public office over the private game. Each member officer of the employee with the receiver of the reimbursement under the paragraph shall disclose the expense reimbursed or the reimbursed the authorization under subparagraph B for an employee of the copy of the certification subparagraph E1 of the Secretary of the Senate not later than 30 days after the travel is completed with each of the disclosure made under the subparagraph of the expense of the reimbursed shall be signed by the member of the officer in the case of the travel by the member of the officer of the member of the officer under those who with the direct supervision of the employee with the works in case of the travel by employee shall include with the good faith of the estimate of the total transportation expense for the reimbursed for the being reimbursed for the good faith of the estimate of the total lodging expense for the reimbursed for being reimbursed good faith of the estimate of the total meal expense for the being reimbursed for the good faith of the estimate of the total other expense for the reimbursed or to be reimbursed determination of all the such expense for the necessary transportation and lodging related to expense for the defined in the paragraph as a description of the meeting of the events of attended in this given the reimbursement of the member of the officer of the determination of the travel of the was connection with the duties of the member of the officer hold the willing and create with appearance of the member of the officer of the evening public officer of the private game member of the officer employee with the seven that may not accept the reimbursement include with the payment of the time with the transportation lodging related expense under this paragraph A of the trip that was planned organized arranged by or at the request of the registered lobbyist agent with the foreign principles of the trip that described under subparagraph A2 with the A1 over the which for the registered lobbyist for the company with the member of the officer of the employee with any of the segment of the trip for all of the other trips overlap under the paragraph of which registered lobbies for the company with the member of the officer of the employee at any of the point throughout the trip of the Senate Elected Committee of Ethics shall the issue of the regulation identify with the dominious activities registered lobby is foreign agents that would not violate subparagraph. A member, officer, employee shall before accept the travel the otherwise permissible under the paragraph of any source. For a select committee of the ethics written certification such source, for the trip will not be finding of any of the part of the registered level of the agent with the foreign principal of the source, either if it does not retain the employee with the registered level of the agent with the foreign principal, it is not itself the registered lobbyist agent with the foreign principal is certified with the trip that meets the requirements of the subclause 1 and 2 of the subparagraph A2 1 2. The source will not accept the registered of the lobbyist agent with the foreign principal of the private entity with the retained with employees one or more with the registered lobbyist agent with the foreign principal the funds of the earmarked directly and indirectly for the purpose of finding for the specific trip. Trip will not any part of the replan organized request to arrange by the registered lobbyist for the agent with the foreign principal for the traveler will be accompanied with the trip with the consistent and applicable requirements of the subparagraph D1B with the registered lobbyist agent with the foreign principal except for the paragraph printed regulations issued in subparagraph D2 and after the Select Committee of the Ethics have promulgated regulation pursuant to Section 544B of the Honest Leadership of the Open Government Act of the 2007, obtaining the prior approval of the committee for the such reimbursement for the purpose of the law. This paragraph determined necessary transportation lodging related to expenses included reasonable expense that are necessary for the travel of the period of the time exceeding 3 days, exclusive of the travel time of the United States, 7 days, exclusive of the travel time outside of the United States, and unless approved of the advance of the Select Committee Ethics, unlimited reasonable expense for the transportation, lodging, conference fees, materials, and food refreshment, including reimbursement and necessary transportation, whether or not such transportation occurs with the periods described in Clause 1, does not include expenditure for the recreational activities, does not include the entertainment of the provided all intended to be integral to the part of the event, except as the activities and entertainment of the otherwise permissible under this rule, may include travel expense incurred on behalf of either the spouse of the children of the member, officer of the member, officer of the employee subject to the determination signed with the member, officer of the initiative of the employee with the member, officer of the under whose direct supervision employee will work for the attendant to the spouse of the child with the purpose to assist with the representation of the Senate. Secretary of the Senate shall make all the advance authorization, certification, closure, file pursuant to the paragraph available to public inspection as soon as possible as they were received, but no event with the prior to completion of the relevant travel. Gift prohibited in paragraph 1A includes the following: anything provided with the registered lobbyist agent with a foreign principal to do any that is maintained with the control by the member, officer of the employee. A charitable contribution defined in Section 170 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 with the made with the registered lobby agent with the form principle with the base for the designation, recommendation, other specification, member, office of the employee, then including mass mailing, other than solicitation directive of the broad category of the person entitled to the other charitable contribution permitted with the paragraph 4. Contribution or other payment may be registered to lobbies for the agent of the foreign principal is illegal with the expend with the fund established for the benefit of the member, the officer, or employee. Final contribution expenditure made with the registered lobbyist agent of the foreign principal relating to the conflict of retreat with a similar event with the sponsor of the affiliate with the official of the congressional organization or for the behalf of the members, officers, and employees. Charitable contribution. This probably goes on forever, so we're just going to pause the tape there. Alright, charitable contribution defined Section 107 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1982 with the registered lobby the agent with the form principle with the relation with the designation, recommendation of the specification, member, office of the employee with the non-include with the mass man with the other solicitation directed with the broad category of the person entitled and leave the other charitable contribution permitted in paragraph 4. Contribution or other payment registered for the lodge for the agent with the foreign principal with the legal with the expense of the fund established for the benefit of the members, the officer, or the employee with a financial contribution expenditure for the made with the registered level of the agent with the foreign principal relating with the conference, retreats, on the event sponsored for the affiliate with the official with the congressional organization on the behalf of the member, the officer, for the employee, the charitable contribution defined in Section 107 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, made by a registered level of the agent with the foreign principal and with the honorarium member, officer, for the employee should be employed with the non-consider the gift done with this rule with the report with the providing. So paragraph B with a member, officer, with the employee with who designated the recommend with the contribution charitable organization only with the honor of the described with the so paragraph A of the report within 30 days after the designation recommendation secretary of the Senate, name and address registered lobbyists with making the contribution to with the lieu of the honor the date with the amount with the contribution, the name and address of the charitable organization designated recommended by the member of the secretary of the shall be made with the public information received with the pursuant subparagraph as soon as possible after it has been received with the purpose of this rule. Term registered lobbyists meaning with the lobbyists registered within the Federal Regulation of the Lobbying Act with the successor statute. The term agent of the foreign principal means an agent of the foreign principal registered under the Foreign Agent the Registration Act with the provision of the rules should be interpreted and enforced only with the select committee of the ethics with the select committee of the ethics authorized to issue the guidance on any manner contained in this rule. Rule 37. Outside earned income. For the purpose of the rule of the provision Section 501F of the Government Act of 1978, Title 5 U.S. Standard Appendix 501 should be deemed as the rule of the Senate as it is pertaining to the members, office of the employees of the Senate. And Rule 37. Conflict of interest, and we'll come back to that tomorrow.